There's no supervillain quite like Thanos, the Mad Titan. He's been a menace to the Marvel Universe since 1973 when he made his debut in Iron Man number 55, and few villains have proven as formidable. Despite his long history in Marvel Comics, Thanos has never been as high profile as he is now. You probably already know that he's a nihilist cosmic warlord who's set on assembling the Infinity Gauntlet, allowing him to wipe out life as we know it. Set that aside though, and you'll find a ton of fascinating components to the character that are slightly lesser known. This is the untold truth of Thanos.
Tell me his name again.
Aesthetic inspiration. Thanos is far from the most unique creation in the history of comics. Created by writer and artist Jim Starlin, Thanos shares many similarities with characters created by another comics luminary, Jack Kirby, specifically Kirby's work on DC's New Gods series. Starlin initially based Thanos on the New Gods character Metron, a genius celestial observer to the events of the DC universe. Many have thought Thanos' inspiration to be the DC character Darkseid, but according to Starlin, that wasn't initially the case. Speaking in a 1998 interview with comic book artist, Starlin said, "You'd think that Thanos was inspired by Darkseid, but that was not the case when I showed up. In my first Thanos drawings, if he looked like anybody, it was Metron. Roy took one look at the guy in the Metron-like chair and said, 'Beef him up. If you're gonna steal one of the New Gods, at least rip off Darkseid, the really good one.'" Fortunately, the resemblance is only skin deep. The two characters have vastly different motivations and levels of empathy, and Thanos has fleetingly fought alongside heroes before. We think it's safe to say that's not really Darkseid's style.
I grant you a quick death.
My name is... This may come as a shock from the looks of him, but Thanos descends from a race of aliens that actually look more or less human. Thanos is a carrier of the deviant gene, sort of the equivalent of a mutant in his race. His mother, father, and the rest of his family are members of a superpowered alien race called the Eternals, living on Titan, one of Saturn's moons. They look human, and when his mother Suisan became pregnant, they expected him to look the same. When Thanos was born, however, one look at him sent all expectations out the window, including the name his mother intended to give him. Before she realized Thanos was a deviant, his mother intended to name him Dion. However, when her child was born, she was horrified by his mutation, and upon looking into his eyes, she realized he was the harbinger of the universe's ultimate destruction.
I made a huge mistake.
There's a lot more messing up this mother-son relationship than just unfulfilled expectations and a gross chin. Suisan tried to execute Thanos as a child, and Thanos successfully returned the favor later in life. Their complex, tumultuous relationship began with a simple name change.
The shorthand is the butterfly effect. A butterfly can flap its wings in Peking, and in Central Park you get rain instead of sunshine.
Collecting the gems. The Marvel Cinematic Universe spent more than 10 years building up Thanos' search for the powerful 6 Infinity Stones, or gems as they used to be known, but it only took him 2 comic books to accomplish a goal that's taken a decade to get done on screen, with the Mad Titan snatching up the gems one by one in a 1990 comic called The Thanos Quest. The 2-part story saw Thanos traveling the universe and liberating the 6 gems from their owners, and they were all in very different hands compared to their cinematic counterparts. First, Thanos attacked the imprisoned In-Betweener, stealing the green soul gem from his head. Next, he liberated the red power gem from the champion in a physical contest, and stole the time gem from the gardener, an ageless elder of the universe. The yellow reality gem he pilfered from the collector, who you may remember from Guardians of the Galaxy. The purple space gem was taken from the runner, and the blue mind gem was nabbed from the Grand Master. Yes, that Grand Master from Thor Ragnarok. All of these foes fell with a surprising quickness when challenged, clearing the way for Thanos to assume the powers of a god in the Titanic 1991 event series The Infinity Gauntlet. Courting death. Many of Thanos' stories chronicle the Titan's obsessive passion for the living personification of death. It's a relationship that was foreshadowed by his very name. Jim Starlin originally came up with the character of Thanos while taking a college psychology class. He based Thanos' personality off of the Freudian concept of the death drive. In other words, the psychological impulse to end one's own existence. His name is reminiscent of Thanatos, the Greek mythological figure who is said to represent death. In Marvel Comics canon, Death is an actual person, a skeletal female entity who is sometimes referred to as Lady or Mistress Death. While Thanos is completely in love with her, Death often refuses to entertain his advances, or even acknowledge his existence, leading Thanos to lash out and seek attention through his universe-destroying scheme. While Death does eventually entertain a romance with Thanos, to say it's complicated would be putting it lightly. It certainly wasn't worth all of the destruction. In the end, Thanos' battle against the universe's strongest heroes was all done for the sake of impressing a girl. She's not even all that good-looking. My own worst enemy. All of Thanos' bluster covers up a lot of insecurity. As both the Infinity Gauntlet and the character's solo outings have shown, Thanos is surprisingly something of a self-defeating sad sack. On the surface, his goals would seem to be the same as any other supervillain: world domination and destruction. However, Thanos' motivations transcend typical villainy. He believes in oblivion like a religion and all but worships death itself. In his own twisted way, he believes he's doing the right thing. The universe is unworthy of existence, therefore it falls on him to give it what it deserves. The nihilism doesn't stop with his view towards all other life. It applies to him as well. Not even Thanos is worthy. This is why Thanos, despite his power, never manages to stay on top for too long. It's firmly established in Infinity Gauntlet that he ultimately fails because he allows himself to. He will always subconsciously leave a hole in his plans that the heroes can exploit to bring about his defeat. As much as he believes that the universe deserves to die, he doesn't believe himself worthy of the task at hand. For such a formidable, otherworldly figure, that's a pretty human flaw. Thanoseid. Amalgam Comics is a pretty interesting corner of comics lore. A joint venture between Marvel and DC, it featured characters that were, you guessed it, amalgamations of Marvel and DC characters. The world of Amalgam is populated by heroes like Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Dr. Strange Fate, and it didn't stop with heroes. The universe also featured amalgamations of villains from both publishers, and you can probably guess who Thanos was paired with. Thanos and Darkseid combine to form Thanoseid. Like Darkseid, Thanoseid rules the planet of Apocalypse, and like Thanos, he has an ambition to wipe out the universe. In the events that led to their combining in the Amalgam universe, Darkseid actually insulted Thanos, calling Thanos just a pale imitation of him, a funny nod to Thanos' origins. Amalgam's comics weren't exactly classics, but they were a whole lot of fun. Kicking it with the boys. One might reasonably assume the Marvel Universe only had room for one nihilistic Death Titan. That would be incorrect. One of the more interesting corners of Thanos' history involves a personal army of clones he made of himself. These clones are known as the Thanoseid and are formed by Thanos splicing his DNA with that of other Marvel heroes and villains. There's Omega, a cross between Thanos and Galactus, for instance. Thanos creates the Thanoseid to test the abilities of enemies and allies alike. Eventually, he considers them failures and abandons them. Shockingly, the Thanoseid don't take this portrayal particularly well. They band together and, being an army of Thanos clones, attempt to bring about the ultimate end of the universe. Luckily, they fail. Given Thanos' general tendencies, an army of Thanos clones ending up trying to destroy the universe isn't any kind of surprise. My Brother the Lover. No matter how many times he impressively destroys the universe or allies himself with the good guys, Thanos will never be as loved as his brother Star Fox. No, not that Star Fox. The Star Fox of the Marvel Universe, also called Eros, is a carefree, easygoing flirt. His charming personality is only amplified by his superpowers, which include a sort of pheromone effect. He can make people within 25 feet of him feel joy, effectively drawing them to him. When cranked up, it can provoke romantic feelings. He's basically a sentient Marvin Gaye record, which is pretty tough to compete with when you're a lumpy purple Death Titan. Star Fox couldn't be any more different from his brother Thanos, and that's probably a good thing. Can you imagine if those parents had to put up with not just one, but two lousy kids? Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel, plus check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.